3FM 92.7. This news is coming to you live from our studios here at Adesawe Kanda, and also come to you live on KESMI 107.1 FM in Tamale. Coming up this morning, legal team of the former finance minister Kenneth Ofori-Atta welcomes the release of their client from the ICE detention.
For now, he's been released from custody and is rejoined with his daughter.
Also, the National Association of Sachet and Packaged Waters Producers reverses the earlier decision to increase sachet water prices.
After listening to her and considering the fact that sachet water is a basic necessity for over 33 million Ghanaians.
And also in this bulletin, the shortage of family planning materials looms as over $500,000 worth of supplies still stuck at the port. Details of our headlines and other stories, please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Now we're on to a first story where Frank Davis, a member of the legal team for the former finance minister Kenneth Ofori-Atta, says his comment comes as the former minister was released from detention by the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement, that's ICE, following a judicial order issued on April 7, 2026. A press release from his legal representative in Ghana, Menka Perno Osai Bonsu, Bruce Catlin and partners, confirmed that Kenneth Ofori-Atta has since returned home and is currently with his family.
For now, he's been released from custody and is rejoined with his daughter. Well, the ICE hearing and the proceedings in the ICE court stand separate and distinct from the extradition request. The ICE matter is a purely administrative immigration matter. He had applied for an adjustment of his immigration status. So ICE proceedings or hearings have nothing in common with the extradition request. The extradition request, so far as I can understand, thus far, is supposed to be pending.
Was Frank Davis. He's a member of the legal team for the former finance minister Kenneth Ofori-Atta. Meanwhile, private legal practitioner Martin Pebu says the fact that he has been released is a bad sign for the Ghanaian case.
Let's go back a bit. He was first picked by ICE, and then ICE has now released him. But whilst he was in ICE custody, the extradition papers and all that were sent to the judge. Remember the first sitting also, if it's not the first, the second, where the judge says, okay, he hasn't seen the extradition documents, so they should be brought to his attention. So subsequently it was done. So now, with the immigration judge seeing the extradition proceedings, and still releasing Ofori-Atta, and at the same time, the fact that the extradition people, that's the Justice Department, did not cause the immediate arrest of Ofori-Atta, that presents a very complex case.
Private legal practitioner Martin Pebu. Now, away from that, the National Association of Sachet and Packaged Waters Producers has agreed to maintain the current price of sachet water at 8 cedis per bag for ex-factory price. This follows a crucial meeting with the Ministry of Trade, Agribusiness and Industry. The decision comes after an early announcement of a possible price increase that raised concerns among consumers. My colleague Grace Hamwa Ajaman sat through the meeting last night and reports.
So it's been a long day here at the Ministry of Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, with the meeting going into 4 hours and beyond. The area of conversation was an announcement by the sachet water packagers and producers that they intend to increase the price of a bag of sachet water as a result of shortage of their polymers. The association makes a case that a ton of polymer, which sold at $920, is now selling at $1,200. But after conversations and discussion with the minister, the group says the old price of sachet water remains. President of the association, Eboboche, says that the association will absorb any cost that is coming out of the decision, but will ask government for some interventions to stay afloat.
After listening to her and considering the fact that sachet water is a basic necessity for over 33 million Ghanaians, yes, we are losing money if we go back to the old price, but then for the fact that we love Ghana and Ghana must thrive, we've decided to absorb the shock and keep the old prices for at least a month or two, and we expect that it will trickle down to the sachet water producers as well.
The Minister of Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, Elizabeth Ofosu-Ejari, assured the group of government supports and interventions even as they find a way around the situation.
Because the economy has been stable for a while, we think that they have been cushioned. So it is good time for the industry to also cushion Ghanaians. They have agreed to do that so that we continue to enjoy the stability that we have in the system.
That was a report from my colleague Grace Hamajman, where the National Association of Sachet and Packaged Water Producers have agreed to maintain the current price of sachet water at 8 cedis per bag. Now, commercial transport operators of Ghana have rejected the ban on the Toyota Voxy for commercial purposes. This is after the Technical Working Committee of the National Road Safety Authority declared the use of the vehicle for commercial purposes as illegal, citing safety concerns linked to their design and widespread modification in Ghana.
Following the public uproar over the number of crashes involving Voxy vehicles, the National Road Safety Authority set up a committee to look into the issue. On Wednesday, April 8, the committee presented its final report, in which it described the situation as a major threat to passenger safety. Director General of the National Road Safety Authority, Ibrahim Amaliba, called for an immediate halt to their importation.
We see the Voxys crisscrossing the length and breadth of this country. We are also being told that the ties are not for the purposes that the vehicle is being used in Ghana. It's unlawful. So when we are able to get the customs to stop the importation, then it cures that one.
Chairman of the Toyota Voxy Technical Working Group, Godwin Kafui Ayeto, said the vehicles were not meant for commercial use and that system failure worsened the problem.
Right from the point of entry, there were systemic failures. They shouldn't have been registered, they were registered. Privately registered vehicles should not have been plying the route for commercial purposes. They are applying the route for commercial purposes. There are no standards to regulate them. Nobody has raised alarm on issues. They are prevalently involved in accidents, especially in the Bono region.
Before we go, let's do some health stories. The Ghana CSO's platform on SDGs are raising alarm over a critical shortage of family planning supplies in the country, following the stock of essential family planning commodities valued at $500,000 at the port of entry since August 2024. At a media briefing, the group warned that the further displays at the country's port could put the lives of 1,000 women at risk. They revealed that the supplies procured by the United Nations Population Fund and coincided to the Ministry of Health have yet to be cleared, even as the stock levels across national and regional medical stores continue to decline. The commodities include contraceptive pills, implants, injectables, condoms, and medical instruments. And that brings us to the end of the first half of this morning's bulletin. For more news, please check our website at 3news.com. I am Enyuna Paliga. Michael Ogbodu comes your way with business.
Follow us on social media, Twitter at 3FM927, Facebook at 3FM927, and also on 3news.com. Follow us on social media, Twitter at 3FM927, Facebook at 3FM927, and also on 3news.com.
Hello there, good morning and welcome to the Business News on Sunrise. Coming out, former chair of PIAC calls for Supreme Court interpretation on GNPC subsidiaries' revenue obligations as Explorco fails to pay over $561 million to the state.
My best bet is for us to go to the Supreme Court for a declaration whether or not those monies are petroleum funds that are payable into the PHF.
And the Energy and Green Transition Minister warns against short-term fuel subsidies.
We will not be in a... We should not take short-term economic decisions that will hurt you, the ordinary Ghanaian, in the long term. That is not prudent economic management.
Plus, stakeholders urged to comply with mandatory local cargo insurance policy as Ghana moves to retain premiums and strengthen economy.
We will not be in our country where local importers will import and then carry money to go and pay foreign insurance company.
I am Michael Ogbodu. Details of these and many other stories coming up shortly. Please don't go anywhere. Thank you so much for your time. Straight into our top story. And the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, PIAC, has signaled its intent to seek legal clarity from the Supreme Court following a massive revenue shortfall involving Explorco, a subsidiary of the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, GNPC. The move suggested by a former PIAC chair stems from the subsidiary's consistent failure to lodge its oil proceeds into the petroleum holding funds as mandated by the Petroleum Revenue Management Act.
According to the 2025 PIAC annual report, Explorco has failed to account for a staggering $561.6 million in petroleum revenue due to the state between 2022 and 2024. This includes corporate income tax and surface rentals from the Jubilee and 10 fields. At the launch of the report, former PIAC chair Constantine Kudeji suggested the committee approaches the Supreme Court for a definitive interpretation of the PRMA to compel GNPC and Explorco to surrender the outstanding $561.6 million.
My best bet is for us to go to the Supreme Court for a declaration whether or not those monies are petroleum funds that are payable into the PHF. Because as PIAC, we can recommend, but we cannot enforce. So it's time we take the matter up so that we are clear, because the money keeps building.
Executive Director of the Center for Democratic Development, Professor Henry Kwesi Prempeh, called for more scrutiny.
These state-owned enterprises essentially represent great systemic risk to our system. On the average, anything between 20 to 25% of our GDP actually runs through some of these state enterprises. Our position is that the mere fact that they are commercial in nature should not be reason why we should exclude them from constitutional scrutiny.
Chair of PIAC, Richard Elima, explains why GNPC Explorco needs to lodge its oil proceeds with the Petroleum Holding Fund.
You take a loan from the Ministry of Finance to buy back some shares that one of the partners was selling off. You buy the shares and then you create a subsidiary called Jubilee Oil Holding Limited. GNPC is a 100% state-owned company. So if you're a 100% state-owned company and you create a subsidiary, by inference, that subsidiary is also state-owned. PRMA is very clear that every revenue from oil, whether directly or indirectly, where the state is involved, the revenues must be lodged into the PHF, the Petroleum Holding Fund.
Now, away from that report, the Energy Minister has cautioned against short-term policy decisions that could have long-term consequences for the economy. His comments come amid growing calls for government intervention in rising fuel prices. Fuel prices have increased significantly since the start of the Iran-Israel-US conflict, which has pushed up global crude oil prices. Some stakeholders are calling for a review of taxes and levies to cushion consumers from the impact. But speaking at the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies Safety Week event, the sector minister said the priority must be to protect the long-term interests of the economy and avoid measures that could create future challenges.
We should not take short-term economic decisions that will hurt you, the ordinary Ghanaian, in the long term. That is not prudent economic management. Whatever support we can give you, let's do it as a government. Whatever cushion we can give Ghanaians in terms of petroleum pricing, let's do that. But let's be mindful that when we are taking these decisions, we do not end up hurting you in the future.
At the same event, the Chief Executive of the National Petroleum Authority, Godwin Eduji Tamaklo, outlined new measures aimed at reducing accidents involving tanker drivers.
Going forward, before we get to register any new tanker, there are KPIs, in fact, there are checklists that we are going to look for before we register you. And please, the industry, don't come and say Eduji has introduced something obnoxious. That has not been the case.
Meanwhile, the Chief Executive of the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies, Dr. Rivesing Opong, says although the industry recorded no accidents last year, efforts are ongoing to sustain the safety record.
On record from oil marketing companies and LPG marketing companies, we've run a full year without any incident or I can call it an accident. It doesn't take away the fact that we need to still have remembrance of the fact that we work in a very volatile industry where the products that we deal with are highly volatile.
You heard that Dr. Rivesing Opong. He is the Chief Executive Officer of the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies, COMAC. Now, the Ghana Shippers Authority is pushing for full compliance with government's directive mandating local insurance of all cargo imports, describing the policy as a major step towards reducing capital flight and strengthening Ghana's insurance sector. The directive, which took effect on February 1, 2026, requires all imported goods, excluding personal effects, to be insured locally in line with provisions of the Insurance Act 2021, Act 1061.
The mandatory local cargo insurance policy, spearheaded by the Ministry of Finance in collaboration with the Ghana Revenue Authority and the National Insurance Commission (NIC), is expected to curb capital flight and boost domestic insurance capacity. At a high-level stakeholder engagement, Chief Executive of the Ghana Shippers Authority, Ransford Jampo, emphasized that the move will ensure importers are better protected while keeping insurance premiums within the local economy.
So clearly, local cargo insurance better safeguards the interests of the trading community while delivering broader economic benefits to the good people of Ghana and in this country. Like all major policy reforms, the rollout of the mandatory local cargo insurance carries far-reaching implications for stakeholders in the shipping and logistics industry.
He noted that despite earlier protocols introduced in 2020, compliance remained low, with only about 6% of imports insured locally, leaving many importers exposed to risks and financial losses.
We will not be in our country where local importers will import and then carry money to go and pay foreign insurance company monies that they will not use, enriching the economies, enriching foreign insurance companies, and depriving or starving local insurance companies.
Stakeholders at the forum raised concerns over implementation timelines, compliance procedures, and penalties, while calling for continuous education and system integration to ensure a smooth rollout.
If you go out there, we have to use the opportunity to also educate the importer. Not everybody is here. So if someone walks to your office and asks, I'm going to buy my cargo, what type of Incoterms should I buy? What type of insurance should I buy? We will be able to educate the person and advise the person and even actually go and speak to your brokers as well. And so it's a good day. I think they should escalate this to the rest of the regional levels before the implementation kickstart.
Now to more stories. Trade, Agribusiness and Industry Minister Elizabeth Ofosu-Adjare has called on Ghana to move beyond the prestige of hosting the African Continental Free Trade Area after Secretariat and begin delivering tangible commercial results. Speaking to 3 Business, the minister emphasized that Ghana carries a special obligation to prove that the Continental Pact is more than just an institutional framework.
Africa Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat, Ghana carries a particular responsibility to demonstrate what intra-African trade can deliver in practice. We are working to ensure that Ghanaian enterprises have access to rules of origin certification, tariff intelligence, and market linkages necessary to compete and win in the continental market. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, none of these policies will deliver their intended outcome without a private sector that is prepared to meet government enabling environment with commensurate investment in technology, skills, governance, and standard compliance.
You heard the Trade, Agribusiness and Industry Minister Elizabeth Ofosu Ajari. Let's turn our attention now to the currency and the commodities market.
On the interbank foreign exchange market, the dollar is selling at 11 cedis, 2 pesos. It gained 1 peso. The British pound is selling at 14 cedis, 80 pesos. It gained 21 pesos. The euro is selling at 12 cedis, 87 pesos. It also gained 13 pesos. However, be guided that these figures could be higher at a forex bureau near you. On the global commodities market, Brent crude is trading at $96.21 per barrel. Gold is trading at $4,722.92 per ounce, up by $16.41. Cocoa is trading at $3,196 per ton, up by $168.
And those were updates from the currency and the commodities market, bringing an end to the business news on Sunrise. For more stories, please check out our website, s3news.com/business. I am Michael Ogbodu. Thank you for tuning in. As always, please stay safe.